welcome back to the Tipsy Ghosts. We are your tipsy hosts, Sarah and Lindsey.
Hey guys.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
What's up, everybody?
I'm
out of breath, apparently.
Why? What are you doing?
Well, see, what happened
We're
was...
sitting.
Yeah, we're sitting. I haven't moved. What happened was we ate a meal earlier, and I said, I want to save half of it for my next meal, which happened to be 3 hours later.
For second dinner.
Yeah, so same night, different meal, technically. So now I'm full and I'm out of breath. That's what I'm trying to say.
I support it.
I support it too. What's new? Nothing that I can think of. Isn't
Did
it
you just
weird?
ask yourself a question?
Yeah, no, I was thinking out loud to myself as she asked the question.
What is new?
What is new in your life, Lindsey? Nothing.
We all got the second round of COVID vaccinations.
We did. We're immune.
We are. We're all in the healthcare field. Just FYI.
And we'll go ahead and say that the second shot hurts a lot more than the first shot, y'all.
I would be willing to say yes.
See, I don't know that it hurt more. I just felt it more like my body
Side
was
effects.
achy. And,
Yeah.
Had worse side effects the second time around than the first. And by worse, I mean like fatigue and achy. Like nothing terrible.
Which, by the way, that is exactly what they say will happen. So this is not news.
Right.
So we're here to tell you that that's pretty true.
But I felt like the second shot itself, like I didn't feel the first shot at all. But the second shot, like I felt it and I was like, how?
Just a random question though. Did you change arms or did you
No,
do
I did the same arm.
Okay. I did mine in different arms.
I didn't
know why.
intentionally do mine in different arms. It's just they had their chair facing
Yes.
one way, and I was afraid to ask
That's
for
exactly
something
what
else.
happened to me. I
was
sat
like-
down and I was like, I don't want to ask them to move.
They asked me which arm when I sat down.
Not the second time for me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I always do my dominant arm, so I always do my right arm.
Yeah.
That was my plan. But
Yeah, same.
You guys are such 4s and 6s.
I was like, I don't want to make waves. So
Sorry.
It'll be fine. Everything's fine. But my arm hurt like a bitch.
It did. Mine hurt too.
You know, it's probably the microchip.
Yeah, that giant
that's
needle that
it.
got stuck in my arm.
Yes.
Oh my God, yeah, they forgot to retract it out of there.
Dang.
I can feel it in there still.
It's an inch long. We're all feeling better. Thank
Yes.
God it was a short-lived like symptom situation.
Like 24
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah, a little rough for
Yeah.
a minute, but totally we feel okay.
Worth
Getting
it.
Yeah.
Better than getting COVID, y'all.
For us, yes. Talk to your doctor. Deal with your situation, what you will. We're never going to tell you one way or the other.
We're not here to give medical advice over a podcast.
Please
That's what
consult a
I'm trying to say.
professional.
Which we are not.
We're not professionals. Don't seek our advice. Anyhow, we feel good now.
I feel great.
Yeah, I feel good too. It's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, we're back on our next group project.
Next group project. What time? Or no.
What time is it?
I was gonna say what time.
Group
It's murder
project time.
Oh my gosh. What are we talking about this time on our group project, guys?
Yeah, Boydston, tell us what we are talking about. It's only because I introduced the last one and she did the one before that.
Oh, I was like, I got
we put you on the spot.
really freaked me out. I was like, what? I didn't know if we were going to sing. I didn't know if I was just supposed to do general.
It was like a long inhale and you're waiting for my cue.
I
And
saw
meanwhile,
the-
my mouth's just open like,
I saw the panic across her face. It's just the
you
two
missed
of
my
us.
cue.
You put her on stage fright. It's just the two of us.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Oh,
just
man.
meant like read the title of
My
what
heart
we're
is
doing.
pounding.
Shit. I forgot how you hate when I put you on the spotlight. Sorry.
You don't have
Hey,
to tell us what you're covering if you don't want to.
Do you want me to do it?
No. I can do it. I can do
Okay.
it.
You got this.
Here, now I'm prepared now. Go ahead and try it again.
Yeah, Boydston, tell us
Yeah?
what we're talking about tonight.
Oh, we're going to talk about possibly the first serial killer, at least in America, H.H. Holmes.
What?
We're doing a true crime group.
Yeah.
Are we not going to sing again?
I'm sorry. I thought you were going to say true crime and you just kept going on about Holmes.
I was trying. I did my deep inhale. Nobody saw.
True crime.
Crime. Okay.
Okay.
That was beautiful. Yeah. First serial killer.
Yeah. Excited.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
in America, I don't know. We haven't researched all the other countries.
And it's debatable. Is he
Jack the
first?
Ripper was probably around before Holmes.
Nope. Same time.
Was it?
Yep.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Maybe listen to Sarah's history on H.H. Holmes.
Maybe
Sorry.
just know what I just said because I didn't mention it in my history, but I
Oh,
did see that in my
scratch that.
history.
Okay. So,
I know there were some places try to say like, oh, is Jack the Ripper H.H. Holmes?
So I was just going to say that. Is somebody talking about any theories or anything like that?
No, it wasn't on my to-do list.
Which is, it wasn't on mine. I double checked. I missed one of my 2 sections, but that was not one.
can you please come prepared next time?
Listen, I was overly prepared in the wrong direction.
She did another whole story that we're not
So,
even doing this
Listen,
week.
I did.
we talk about this like as a
Yep.
group in a group
Yep.
text message.
So
Message. We decide what
FaceTimed.
topics we're gonna do
Yep.
as a group, and then Lindsay sections them out, and then we all
Yep.
volunteer for what sections.
Mhm.
And then maybe like 4 or 5 days later, Sarah texts us. She's like, "So we're doing
True crime.
smorgasbord and true crime, right?
Which was
I've
right.
got like kind of a 2-parter, so maybe we can do 2 episodes." I was like,
Still
"What
true.
are you talking about?"
Still true. I'm going to
She
do those.
missed all the group text. She missed the group
No.
FaceTime that happened.
Okay. Can I explain? When I heard we were doing group projects, for some reason I thought we were spacing them out a lot further.
The whole, you're going to do a group thing for each topic every other month. February is all groups. March is going to be
Okay.
individual stories.
See, that's not what I was hearing. I was thinking you're doing like a group project in
Like
in-
interspersed with all of the
yes, like
what
true
we
crime
normally
was
do.
in January. Yes, and the every true crime, every whatever third.
I
that
gotcha.
Okay, so my brain overthought it. I know that's shocking, but that is where I was. And to be fair, I know we talked about details, but we never talked about dates for those.
To be fair, for Sarah, to have Sarah's back here, I ask Boydston every single week at work, what are we recording this week? I didn't write it down.
But now I'm just going to be overly.
Also, we talked about it on our group FaceTime, and
I
then
knew what we were talking about. I just didn't
sent
know when.
a detailed text message with like, "This is what we're doing on this date. This is an individual
See,
project. This is a
why
group
we have a
project."
group notebook now, so you
It's
can
fine.
email it,
There
so I don't
was-
have to filter
There
through.
was a miscommunication, and
No,
now
I
it's
suck
fixed.
at it, and I'm trying to help
The
myself.
text messages sometimes do get lost
That's
in
what I'm saying.
among all the memes and TikToks we also share in
I'm like,
between.
yeah, okay. Oh, look at this TikTok.
I'll
Well,
wait.
that's why I
confused.
sent it all in one big paragraph, so
know.
you could put it in your
You
your
did. It was
calendars.
even numbered.
Your
You did a good job.
calendars. It's fine.
I
It's
did. I put it as true crime and smorgasbord. I did not put it, and that's why I knew.
fine. Individual group.
Listen, I try. I don't know. I suck at it.
Group notebook. Group This is why
notebook.
we have this now.
It helps me. Next step is group calendar.
Boydston manages our calendar too. She does a great job at
We have a Rocketbook. We're learning how to use it. They're pretty cool. So you can like scan them and upload whatever you wrote down on the notebook into different areas. And then you can like erase it and reuse it. They're pretty cool.
It's a pretty cool Christmas gift from somebody.
I don't know who gave them. But anyways, they do make calendars just like that, which is what I'm trying to say. So we should use those next for me. I might be buying those. Okay, anyhow, we're going to talk about our friend H.H. Holmes.
Whoa, we calling him a friend?
Our acquaintance.
Or
Brother from another mother.
No, that's worse.
killer. I don't know what to say.
Let's not call serial killers our friends.
Okay.
Our featured topic.
There we go.
There you go. That's a good one. All right, bottoms up. We got some energy drinks. We got some wine.
That's what I meant. He's our featured topic friend.
Whatever's in your cup.
Drink up.
So we're going to talk about Herman Webster Mudgett, who became better known as H.H. Holmes. So you might hear me kind of intertwine those names. But he was born May 16th of 1861 in Gilmanton, New Hampshire. He was the youngest of 3, son of a farmer named Levi and a housewife named Theodate. Beautiful name, if you guys are interested in
Theodate.
names for children.
I love the name Theodore for a boy, so I'm not sure I love Theodate.
This is the female version.
Knock on wood. Hold on.
Or it may be Theodate.
If I
really
ever
don't know.
have twins again, Theodore and Theodate.
Theodate.
Theodate and Theodore. Theo and Theo squared. Come here, please.
Teddies, come here.
Teddies. Oh gosh, I need to knock on wood again for
Oh
not
my.
having twins.
Oh boy. Well, now you know their names.
Yep.
Knock that one off the list.
Never get them confused. Okay.
Teddy and Teddy. Theodate. Okay.
All right.
They were,
We ran that joke in the
Sorry.
ground.
I do that. They were all devout Methodist, which obviously means they were great people. They were very religious.
Mm.
That's
Religious people never do anything wrong.
That's said in kind of shade because he grew up in some rough childhood, honestly.
I was like, what's wrong with Methodists? I don't understand. Okay, go ahead.
Nothing really, but it's just interesting that it's always used as they were great people because they were religious.
Got it. Okay.
And they were Methodist, but in reality,
There's
his
bad
childhood
people
was really
everywhere.
rough. Yeah. He was abused as a child, beat regularly as punishment, and locked into the attic. He was a self-described mother's boy.
Mama's boy.
Mother's boy. Mama's boy.
Mama's boy.
Same thing. So he would fantasize about his parents' death, especially after hearing about the Great Chicago Fire.
Not so much mama's boy then.
Right. I believe this was probably after the beatings and punishment. He would say he would imagine them burning alive until their bones were nothing but ash. This is like as a child.
This is some
pretty intense.
serious psychological trauma.
Just kind of gives you a hint into his brain. One of his most famous memories, or like most memorable times when he was younger, was when some neighborhood boys forced him inside of a doctor's office, knowing that he was terrified of doctor's offices at the time. And to be fair, doctor's offices were probably pretty terrifying at the time. So modern medical science was just beginning around this time. And this was during a time of transition. I don't know how else to describe it, but doctor's offices would have fresh corpses for dissection so that they could learn, like in the back room. Anybody could go in and see it.
Goals.
What?
Goals.
Goals. Oh.
You want to go to your primary care and be like, hey, can I go see the body in the back?
No, but in college, I took a dissection
Yeah,
class, and
sure.
it was absolutely fascinating.
It was fascinating. That's kind of what I thought of when they were talking about this. But I don't think that there was consent on the corpse before they died.
No corpse consent.
Yeah, corpse consent.
I couldn't even do the owl pellet dissection.
Oh man, the
That's all I
anatomy
did.
class was really fascinating.
Because I took biology in high school, so we didn't have to do
Like I
anatomy
can
then.
see why you'd need to have a corpse there to learn about a body, but to like have one in the back of a doctor's office that was probably smelly. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
They were also just like perfect skeletons hanging in the office that were, probably real
Like real skeletons.
skeletons,
Not
real
plastic.
bones.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this freaked him out. He had
Sure.
this fear. So the boys dragged him into the office and forced him to look at the skeleton. And he said that when he opened his eyes, that all of his fear went away. And that's when his curiosity about the human body began.
Nope. Opposite effect.
Yeah. So this is especially creepy because what we know about his childhood is from his own writing. So he's saying this like in reflection, like, I remember this, and this is what sparked my interest.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can kind of start to see what's going to take place. So at age 11, he began dissecting live animals and keeping them alive as long as he could. He kept a treasure box in his family's house in the cellar. It included keepsakes of killings, including skulls, cat paws, and oddly, a picture of his 12-year-old sweetheart. Just because that belongs there together. Cat paws, skulls, and his 12-year-old girlfriend.
He has an eclectic taste.
Yes.
I'm surprised Boydston's not commenting on the cat paws thing.
It's part of the history. I had to
No, I
include
feel like in my brain the cat paws are fake, and he just dissected goldfish.
Okay, sure.
I like how she lives in a fantasy world sometimes.
Okay, if that helps you, like, bubble off things.
Sure does.
Yeah, I get it. He had one friend named Tom growing up who tragically died after he fell while the two were playing.
Aww.
And some people thought that maybe Holmes was responsible.
Oh,
but
pushed him.
this was never confirmed. But,
Or
still,
denied.
Still pretty sus. So when people... They always pointed to this, too. So people asked him if he was sad that Tom died. And he responded with, I'd rather be alone. Which they thought was weird. But I'm also like... He was like 11 years old processing. I don't think wanting to be alone is that weird, is what I'm trying to say.
No, it's not. But it's a weird response to say when your friend was, I don't want to say killed, when your friend died in front of you at
Under
a young
mysterious
age.
circumstances.
Yeah. If your friend died in front of you and police asked how you felt about it, my first response would be like, I like to be alone. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe. I don't know. I'd probably be like, I don't know. I just want to be alone, but I'm dramatic. So
That's what sitting in a dark room by yourself,
listening to my Taylor Swift songs, like
listen to feelings. Driver's License.
I fucking love Driver's License. Okay, I'm teenager forever. I've recommended it to anybody who will listen to music.
I love that like meme where it's like women in their 30s happily married listening to breakup songs. I'm like, yes,
it's fucking me with Olivia Rodriguez, I think is her name. I don't know. Driver's License, and then Taylor Swift.
Yep.
Anyhow, there I am. I'm feeling his emotion, and I'd rather be alone. He graduated high school at age 16 and became a teacher. He married Clara Lovering at age 18, and shortly after, he left her to go to medical school, and I think she probably dodged a bullet in this scenario.
Sounds like it.
He left her, but he didn't divorce her.
Oh, okay.
He left her to go to school. He went to the University of Michigan, which was known at the time as the leading medical school in the art of dissection of human corpses.
So it sounds like he really wanted to just be like a mortician.
You'd think. He definitely had a fascination with
dead bodies. He doesn't want to like heal people.
Right. It's interesting you say that. He doesn't. Yeah, usually you want to heal people if you go into medicine. He's like looking at it from the opposite side.
Mortician or medical examiner.
He's fascinated at the dead. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So according to Holmes, this is where his career as a criminal truly began. His crimes up until then were fairly diverse, but his favorite crime was fraud.
Oh.
He was very ambitious. He graduated college and had high aspirations for himself, which, you know, most serial killers, as we know, they're actually pretty smart. I'm not trying to say they're not.
No, they are.
But a lot of them don't go and graduate college or med school, to say the least. Most of them don't.
Yeah. No,
because their thoughts may be fairly disorganized in that sense.
Most of them are intelligent. I mean, to pull off what they do, you have to be intelligent.
Absolutely. He was described as a con artist and a pathological liar. Mm. And I thought this was funny, so I had to include it. But it was described that he had pointy ears that indicated devilry and vice.
Is that a witch thing?
I don't know. It was actually written about him.
Elves. Devilry.
Devilry. And vice.
I've never heard that before. Pointed ears being a...
Listen, I didn't write it.
We need to investigate that further.
He was a huge ladies' man and described as attractive at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Which I've seen pictures of him, and I think he was probably just described as that because he didn't have like a bullet hole in his face or like, you know, half of his ear missing.
Also the times.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Probably had all his teeth.
Maybe. Questionable.
Yeah.
He definitely had 2 eyes and a nose and a mouth.
2 eyes and a nose.
And like no giant missing eyeballs or anything crazy.
He was
probably
charismatic.
He absolutely was. People aspired to be just like him, actually. So because he was so charismatic. So during medical school, he came up with a plan with a fellow student. The plan was to take out life insurance policies on each other, steal a cadaver from the school, then fake the death of the other one.
Mm. I have so many thoughts.
You always do. So this is the time that, like, suddenly Holmes he obtains a body that was an uncanny resemblance to another student and his closest friend who he came up with this plan for. Allegedly, he and his friend devised this plan together and found and killed somebody or stole the cadaver. You know, who knows? It's kind of up in the air. But this cadaver looked almost just like his friend. And they put the body in his friend's bed, and there was little to no investigation into the case.
What?
He collected the full amount, presumably sharing it with his quote-unquote dead friend.
Yep.
So
he specifically, according to him, he took corpses that were badly burned or decomposed because they couldn't really be identified. And changing names at the times was really easy to do. So you could just be like, yeah, that was my buddy.
And nobody noticed these missing cadavers showing up?
Nope. I'm sorry. Nope, they sure didn't.
Hey, look, there's a missing dead body down here. Oh, well.
No, that was not a thing at the time. Unfortunately, it was an easier thing to do.
Yeah.
He graduated medical school and took a job as a pharmacist and, quote unquote, accidentally poisoned a woman with a concoction of meds, ? Who knows?
Like gave her the wrong meds?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The interesting part, though, is he was definitely not a pharmacist.
I was going to say, you don't go to medical school to be a pharmacist, right?
He was definitely not a pharmacist. He was a doctor, graduated medical school, but he was not a
I
pharmacist.
wonder why he took a job as a pharmacist. Okay.
These were different times. So
I know, but he likes bodies.
But
Yeah.
it would give him easy access to chemicals that
Right.
you could kill people with, and
Gotcha.
then he'd have bodies.
Okay.
people were starting to get a little suspicious of him,
Right.
especially after this person accidentally died, even though I feel like at the time, even if you are a pharmacist, that it might be fairly easy to mess things up and people might die at that time. I don't know. I'm not a pharmacist, but it was back in the time when things were
They probably didn't have
not as controlled.
Right, not as controlled substances. There wasn't like
Right.
liability
we didn't know as
insurance
much,
or
yeah.
anything. Yeah, I
But
get it.
he did leave Philadelphia and ended up in Chicago. He took a job as a pharmacist in 1885, and he changed his name to his now famous alias as H.H. Holmes, like I mentioned in the beginning. That's kind of what we know him as for the most part.
So at this pharmacy in Chicago, it was called Holton Drugs, and it was a husband-wife duo that owned the store. So when the owner, Mr. Holton, passed away, his wife was left to take over the responsibilities. And Holmes convinced the widow to let him buy the store. And soon after, she went missing. They had a good patronage, a good following, and people would ask where'd she go? And he told concerned customers that she moved to California, but this was never verified and she was never seen again.
Yeah, so right across the street from the pharmacy where he worked was a big open lot that he eventually, I guess you would say, bought? Do you buy lots at the time? I don't know.
He bought it.
But he decided to build a property on. And now I'm going to hand it over to Lindsay.
This is the murder mansion. So it's more commonly referred to as the House of Horrors because a lot of horrible things went down there. So he, like you said, built this lot. It took up an entire block. It was huge. It contained more than 100 rooms, which if you think about it, that's a lot of rooms. So the first floor it was all storefronts that he rented out for businesses. So it was like shops. People would pay him money. That's kind of how he kept up with everything. The second floor in the basement are going to be the murder rooms. We're going to talk about that more in detail. And then the third floor was like apartments that he also rented out that people could live in. And they said this is probably where he got a lot of his victims, was like the hotel apartments that people would rent. So while he was building it, or he himself wasn't building it, but while he was having it built, he was constantly switching builders and architects throughout construction so nobody could tell what he was actually designing and nobody knew what he was designing except for himself. He kind of built up a reputation where he would promise money if they gave him, services, and then he would say, this isn't up to par, this isn't what I want, and he would not give them money and just hire somebody else. So he was also getting away with building this with all this fraud because he wasn't paying these contractors and architects along the way. So he did it for really cheap. Kind of found a loophole there. The house, the mansion, whatever you want to call it, it was eventually completed in 1892. So here's some weird stuff about the house. I'm really going to focus on the second floor in the basement.
Perfect.
All right, so the second floor. I don't think we've talked about this on the podcast, the Winchester house, yet.
We haven't covered that one yet.
We haven't covered it. We've
haven't.
just briefly mentioned that we want to go there.
Yes.
Maybe it should be our topic.
So I'm sure most people are familiar with the Winchester house in California
Mm-hmm.
and how it's famous because it doesn't make sense. Like, it's just stuff that's been added on to stuff. So Holmes's second floor kind of looked a lot like that. So there were staircases that went nowhere. There was hinged walls. There was fake partitions. There would be rooms with no doors whatsoever or windows. And then there would be rooms that would have like 5 or 6 doors to them. Every room was soundproof, and he would use iron plated around the room to make it soundproof back then. He had gassing chambers that were hidden under the floorboards. His apartment itself had a trapdoor in the bathroom, which went down to a staircase, which then went to a windowless cubicle, which then had a chute to the basement. And his chute to the basement was not for laundry.
Thank you for clarifying. It was for bodies.
It was for
It
bodies.
was a body shoot.
Oh, I didn't
body
catch
shoot.
that.
It was not a laundry chute. And he had many of the rooms on the second floor had chutes that were, again, not for laundry. So all the doors and some of the stairs were linked to an alarm system that would alert him in his bedroom to any movement. So if anybody opened a door, he would know. If anybody went upstairs or downstairs, he would know. So the basement had shelves of acid just sitting there. And when police eventually got to the house and were investigating it, there was a skull that was still there, and there was some ribs that were still dissolving in the acid.
Yikes.
Yeah, not good. There was a operating table that was completely covered in blood. A crematory, because, got to burn the bodies. Lots of medical tools, torture devices. He would basically put the bodies down the chutes, dissect them, clean them, and then he would sell the organs or skeletons to either medical institutions or black market. And I looked it up because I was curious. You could sell a full skeleton completely cleaned at that time ran for about $20,000 in our time.
Which is why I think the body, I don't know what you call it, body robbing, body whatever.
Snatchers.
Body snatchers, thank you.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot of money. So, like we said, Holmes was the only one who knew the layout of the house because he purposely kept it hidden from everybody else. So the Chicago Tribune wrote in 1937, this is after, obviously, the house has been discovered. "Oh, what a queer house it was. In all America, there was none other like it. Its chimneys stuck out where chimneys should never stick out. Its stairways ended nowhere in particular. Winding passages brought the uninitiated with a frightful jerk back to where they had started from. There were rooms that had no doors. There were doors that had no rooms. A mysterious house it was indeed. A crooked house. A reflex of the builder's own distorted mind." So there is the second floor layout.
Man, that's so crazy.
It literally looks like a maze.
Yes.
There's just no rhyme or reason to any of the rooms, which was done on purpose again. So his victims wouldn't know how to get out.
Right. So you'd have to go in, around, out. Yeah.
It makes no sense. And we'll post a picture of this on Instagram so you guys can see it. It's just kind of crazy. Every bedroom on the second floor had peepholes so he could watch what was going on.
Man, he is next level.
They were all airtight rooms and they were all soundproof, like I said. The basement, he had a medieval torture device to stretch the body that he called an elasticity determinator.
Okay.
And
what are you trying to determine?
Their elasticity.
Is there a meter
I'm
on there?
Thinking of that old, and I don't know if this is what it was because it just said a medieval torture device. I'm thinking of that one where the arms and legs are stretched out, where you're laying on your back.
Yeah.
And they crank it and it stretches.
I picture Princess Bride. Didn't I mention this once before?
Oh. Probably.
Yeah.
So one horrible thing that they found as well, and we're going to go, I know you guys are going to go back to all this, but this is just when the police were going through the house and found it. A female footprint was discovered on the door of a vault. So their best guess was that a woman was locked in and left the print while she was trying to kick down the door to escape.
That's sad.
So it's believed that Holmes poured acid on the floor and she stepped in it and then kicked the door in her final attempt to escape and left her footprint there. Holmes originally planned to build a second hotel in Fort Worth, Texas. Never happened because, he got captured. The hotel was mostly destroyed by a fire in August of 1895. There's two theories about what happened. One theory is that vigilantes torched it because of the horror and because they just didn't want the city of Chicago to be reminded of what went down in that house. Another theory is that Holmes paid somebody to do it to cover up evidence, even though police had already searched it and had more than enough evidence. The shops were reopened, so the second and third levels were completely destroyed. But in 1937, the U.S. government bought it and demolished it and then opened a post office there.
I bet that post office is haunted.
I bet it is, too.
It's hard to say, right? Because the ground isn't, underground is, yeah. So
it says they demolished, so it was just the ground level. The basement was probably still there. It says they demolished it and then it's now a post office. I don't know how much of the structure is still there.
I'm kind of a believer of spirits are transient anyway, so they come and go.
Yeah.
But if they're connected to that part, then they probably would go. Did you say it was a bank?
Post office.
Post office. The post office is 100% haunted.
The Inglewood Post Office.
Let's ask them. Inglewood Post Office. Reach out to us. Let us know.
And I've been to
Your
Tell
Chicago.
us your stories.
I've been to Chicago, and I'm like, I wonder where this is because I want to go find this.
Mm-hmm.
Just to walk by it.
So back to
Crazy.
1891, just after the construction of the murder castle was complete, Holmes placed ads in newspapers presenting himself as a wealthy man looking for a wife and offering jobs for young women, and offered his castle as lodging. So it said that all of Holmes's employees, his hotel guests, and his many fiancés and wives were required to have life insurance policies. But mysteriously, many of his women suitors, employees, and guests would suddenly disappear. Some neighbors would report that they saw many women enter the castle, but would never see them exit. So a big moneymaker was coming to town, the World Fair, which they were trying to celebrate the 400th anniversary of Christopher Columbus in the Americas.
1492.
Mm-hmm. So during that, many guests were lured to the hotel, but several never left. And then once the World Fair had ended, Chicago's economy was in a slump. Therefore, Holmes abandoned the castle and focused on insurance scams, committing random murders along the way. So that's kind of where we will take the story. In 1894, he was arrested for stealing horses. He met a guy named Marion Hedgepath in jail, and these two concocted a new insurance scam. Holmes said he would take out an insurance policy for $10,000, fake his own death, and then provide Marion with $500 in exchange for a lawyer who could help if any issues arose. Once he was released on bail, he attempted this plan, but the insurance company was suspicious and they didn't pay out. So Marion got angry for never receiving his money, and he turned Holmes into the police, where they began to look into him further. And this kind of sets in motion kind of his downfall, with the police looking after him, trying to find him.
I was just going to say, can I mention something about when he was in jail with Marion? I did hear that too.
Sure.
That when he was in jail with him, he was in jail with Marion, and he had seen somebody die by death by hanging. And he saw it as like a vision or something that was to indicate that he shouldn't go on with his further crimes. But he did.
It was like an
It
epiphany.
was an omen. Yeah. But
Omen, that's a better word.
He didn't listen.
no, he did not. But I thought that was very interesting that he saw it. He like saw everything in the shadows happening. And then he was just like, no, I'm going to keep going.
So while police were investigating Holmes, they stumbled across his murder castle and discovered many bodies so badly decomposed and dismembered that it was hard to even determine exactly how many bodies were there. Mm-hmm. And that ties into Lindsey's part of the story with the murder castle. But in the meantime, he came up with another similar plan involving one of his past accomplices, Benjamin Peitzel. He took out a $10,000 insurance policy, and the plan was to have Peitzel fake his own death. But he killed him anyway.
Oh, nice.
Well,
So
he's a good friend.
yeah.
It's very sarcastic.
And
Keep your friends close.
Are you winking at me? Are you going to kill me?
maybe.
I haven't decided yet.
Terrible killer. Lindsay, I'm going to kill you.
She says with the biggest smile on her face. Continue, Boydston. I'm so
Literally.
sorry.
Oh, thank you. So Holmes killed Peitzel instead, and in an even bigger fraud attempt, he made it look like an accident. So Benjamin Peitzel, we know, is dead, but no one knows this yet, and now he has to find a way to get rid of his family. His family's eventually going to be like, well, I mean, where is he? Right. And it would be suspicious because
he has people to miss him.
And, you know, somebody's got to get this payout for this insurance policy.
Right.
So Holmes goes to Peitzel's unsuspecting widow, Carrie, to let her know that the two had come up with this plan and would need her help to help them carry it out by identifying the body, quote unquote. Remember, at this point, Carrie thinks her husband is caught up in a scheme to get insurance money and doesn't think he's actually dead. Aww. So part of the plan was to have Peitzel's oldest daughter go with Holmes to, quote, identify the body. He takes all of the older Peitzel children, ages 15, 11, and 8, with him under the ruse that they would actually be meeting up with their dad at a safe house.
Oh, no, I don't like this.
So their mom, Carrie, was sick at the time, and she was also caring for her infant son, and she was to come separately. So he strategically separated the family.
Oh, I don't like this more.
The family travels frequently and in small groups. They never stayed in one place for long. The children are led to believe that they're going to be reunited with their parents very soon, but Holmes was always coming up with an excuse for why it hadn't happened yet. So along the way, Holmes is with 8-year-old Howard, and he rents a house and installs a large wood stove and has 2 cases of surgical instruments sharpened.
Oh, no.
Not long after, Howard is killed via poisoning, and we can use our imaginations for the rest.
Nope.
Holmes tells Carrie that he left Howard in Indianapolis with a cousin, and he meets up with the older girls, Alice and Nellie, where he, again, murders a piece of the Peitzel family, likely poisoning both girls at the same time. He had a neighbor that told police, like, yeah, he asked to borrow a shovel for potatoes in the cellar, which just...
Come on.
I mean, so
Right.
he takes out over half of the Peitzel family. Eventually, the police catch up with him, and he's arrested in Boston. He's guilty. I don't know how many murders he actually says that he did commit.
I know.
Okay.
He confessed to 27 murders.
27, but it's thought that it was probably a lot more.
I'm sure he said he did quite a few more because that's kind of how he is, right?
Right.
It's thought he could have done up to 200.
Right.
If not more, but he confessed only to 27.
So he
Okay.
was...
Which is still a lot.
Still a ton.
Yeah, he was sentenced to hang, and while he was waiting, he wrote his memoir,
Mm-hmm.
which Lindsey got a lot of her information from. And he was hanged in Boston, and they didn't do it right. It took up to 15 minutes for him to actually die.
Oh, that's a rough death.
It's interesting, though, for 4 people who have had, like, such a terrible history with, like, their killing, their victims are so innocent, like these children.
Right. Gosh.
Not that anybody deserves to die more than any other, but you know what I'm saying. Like 8-year-olds
Right.
probably have never done anything in their life. But I'm saying, do you think, just putting it out there, do you think that this long death was accidental?
I mean,
Question mark.
there's a good chance that people wanted him to suffer.
That's what I'm trying to indicate. Yeah. I don't know. It's just interesting to think about. I can't say one way or the other, obviously, but
It's just fascinating to me, like, how long he was able to go on and do these things before he got caught.
What you think? I mean, he basically had the murder house for 2-3 years before police arrested him. So that's why they think up to 200 people, because he, during this time that he had that, like, he had people in and out constantly because of the fair going on.
right.
And he had hired, I saw a fun fact about him, that he hired 150 women over those 2 years to work for him as stenographers. I'm like, why is he hiring 150 women? That's a lot of women to go through.
I didn't know, again, I don't know whether I was going to cross over to any other people's section. So I was hearing about Chicago at the time, and like this was like a bumbling city, and like
Right. People were coming and going.
Women especially were getting out on their own during this time.
Yeah.
And Chicago was an easy place for them to go. It was like cheaper for them to go. The real estate was cheap. And so that was a very popular spot for them to go to. So women were basically flocking to this area during the time. So this was like kind of, for lack of a better term, like prime picking for him.
Prime, like, hunting grounds, honestly, for him.
Yeah.
And they were saying that a lot of these were people who would not be missed. You know, he had these women coming in and out, and they were mistresses. They were employees of his.
Yeah.
And like you said, they were all venturing out away from their families, moving to, you know, Chicago.
And to add into his fraud, like, he had multiple wives in his life.
And mistresses,
And mistresses, but like they called them legitimate wives and people he was actually married to, but he never divorced the others. So he was just a con man. Like, he really, really was. He's fascinating in that sense because he conned so many people along the way.
I read one article about him, and they talked about how his biggest crime wasn't murder, it was fraud. Because he frauded everybody, and that's how he got
his favorite crime.
Yep, that's how he got away with so much of it. It's very, very, very sad.
Yeah. I did want to mention too, just because I want to cite my resources, because I took a lot of information from the last podcast on the left. They're hilarious. You guys should totally check them out. And they cited The Devil in the White City also, which is a book by Eric Larson.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's one of the most famous true crime books that is on my to-be read list.
Oh, you haven't read it yet?
I haven't.
I'm shocked.
I actually bought that book for my sister-in-law for Christmas. I was
you should definitely read it.
I should have bought it for myself too. I'm going to.
There's a lot of other stuff going on about that book, but I just don't read. So
I do.
I'm a listener, not a reader.
I actually was planning on going to the bookstore this weekend. So
so let us know if you find anything else out about it. It is truly a fascinating thing, and I can't believe none of us mentioned that there is American Horror Story.
Yes,
after
he is
Murder House, or not? Well, kind of. Yes,
the hotel, wasn't he?
Yes, at the hotel.
Yeah, because there was all the serial
flashback
killers
of H.H. Holmes. Yes, okay, yes.
It was played by
oh my
what's
gosh,
his name?
Evan.
His first name is Evan. I don't remember his last name.
I can picture him. He was Tate in
Peters.
the Murder House.
Peters.
Evan Peters. Oh, there we are.
Yes, he plays H.H.
We got
Holmes.
there.
We got there. Look at us. Boydston's just staring at us like, uh-huh.
Did you? Oh, I loved it. It was crazy. That's actually crazy enough. As much as I'm into true crime, that was the first time I heard about H.H. Holmes.
Really?
Yes. And I was like, this cannot be real. This cannot be real. And I looked into it. It surely was.
Mm-hmm. He's crazy.
He is and he did a crazy job. Did you see the episodes?
Mm-hmm.
He did a great job.
All right, guys.
Would recommend.
Thanks so much for tuning in to our group, True Crime. You can always send us emails at thetipsyghost@gmail.com with anything you want to add. We will read them, I promise. And go to thetipsyghost.com to find all of our socials from there.
Please give us a 5-star rating and a great review on Apple Podcast. We would greatly appreciate it.
Thanks so much for tuning in this week, guys. We will catch you guys next week.
Okay, bye.
Bye.